Japanese National Railways, Nagasaki Station. Nagasaki Station was used to send soldiers, weapons, and ammunition to occupied China. They were loaded on ships at Nagasaki port and were sent to Shanghai, as Nagasaki was the nearest to Shanghai in Japan. Also, Nagasaki Station was the terminal of long JNR lines, which collected parts from all over Japan to feed shipyards along Nagasaki Bay. Nagasaki Station was definitely a military target, and indeed Japan installed 2 anti-aircraft guns and a searchlight to protect it. Counterfeiting of Chinese currency. During the Pacific War, $2 billion worth Chinese currency yuan were forged every month in Japan and were carried by JNR to this Nagasaki station and shipped to Imperial Japanese Army in occupied Shanghai, China. There, Imperial Japanese Army bought gold, precious metals, food, and daily necessities to feed their 1 million soldiers deployed in China, and also to feed Japanese citizens who were suffering from shortage of food and daily necessities, as all male farmers and workers had been consumed in the South Pacific battles. Noborito Laboratory. Chinese currency yuan were forged in Kawasaki, almost Tokyo. It was Imperial Japanese Army No. 9 Laboratory in Noborito, Kawasaki City, Japan. It was against international law even during a wartime. Imperial Japanese Army No. 9 Laboratory had No. 3 section, which was specialized in forging Chinese currency yuan. Let's confirm by checking the following 4 Japanese Wikipedias. 1/4 Counterfeit bills. Japanese Wikipedia Counterfeit Bills has an article, Counterfeiting by State Organs, and it says, during Sino-Japanese War, Imperial Japanese Army No. 9 Laboratory, also known as Noborito Lab, forged Chinese currency. See the operation. It was reported in January 2015 that papers thought to have been used for counterfeiting, see the operation, were found at Tomoegawa Paper Mill in Shizuoka Prefecture, Japan. 2/4 Noborito Lab. Japanese Wikipedia Noborito Lab says $56 billion worth in 2021. Chinese counterfeits were forged in this lab, and $42 billion worth were actually used in China. 3/4 Imperial Japanese Army Nakano School. Japanese Wikipedia Army Nakano School says that their students were learning how to make special bombs and counterfeiting at Noborito Laboratory. Witnesses say that Nakano students were used to carry counterfeits in wood boxes to Nagasaki Station. It was one of their hands-on education in school. 4/4 History of currency in Republic of China. Japanese Wikipedia says, around December 1938, anti-Chinese economic strategy Cedar operation was planned in Japan. A counterfeiting team with Kono Yamamoto as production manager convened in Kawasaki. In Shanghai, Pine Company was established to use the forged currency. Counterfeiting of Chinese money was a state project led by the Ministry of Army and General Staff Headquarters of Japan. In 1940, Japan bought expensive German printing machines and completed counterfeiting factory. Japan started mass production of counterfeits in 1941. Japan hired local schoolgirls and had them smear and wrinkle newly printed counterfeits and brought them to Shanghai and bought gold, precious metals, food, etc. Counterfeits were brought to Shanghai via Nagasaki, and $2 billion worth as of 2021 of counterfeits were carried to Shanghai every month. Calculation method. Before going further, we want to explain how we changed old Japanese yen of 1945 to US dollar of 2021. Here's a map of central Tokyo. There is Yamanote Loop Line. The train fare between Kanda and Okachimachi station of Yamanote Loop Line in Tokyo was 0.1 yen in 1945. The same train fare is 140 yen as of 2021, which means the price increased 1,400 times from 1945 to 2021. Japanese Wikipedia says 100 million to 200 million yen worth of counterfeits were shipped to Shanghai via Nagasaki every month. This 100 million yen at that time is 1,400 times 100 million yen in 2021. That is 140 billion yen. As $1 is almost equivalent to 100 yen in 2021, the amount is 1.4 billion US dollars. Likewise, 200 million yen then is 2.8 billion US dollars. Their average is 1.4 plus 2.8 divided by 2 equal 2.1 is almost 2 billion US dollars. So we expressed 2 billion US dollar worth counterfeits were shipped to Shanghai via Nagasaki every month. By the way, was China adversely affected by this theft? If one meal cost you 5 US dollars, this 2 billion US dollar per month is equivalent to 400 million meals per month stolen by Japan. Did this cause starvation or any inconvenience in China? War-related death of Chinese civilians during World War II. Japanese Wikipedia says China suffered 7 million to 16 million war-related deaths of civilians during World War II. At that time, Japan was the only enemy country for China. The minimum 7 million deaths is still way over the 5.7 million deaths of Jews killed by Nazi Germany. Some of 7 million to 16 million civilian deaths were caused by Japanese air raids on China during 1938 to 1943, which became carpet bombings in the latter half. Some other deaths were caused by poison gas by Japanese. But Nagasaki was still responsible for exporting counterfeits to swindle Chinese out of 400 million meals equivalent property every month, causing starvation and death in China. Nagasaki had an active role in this international crime and was doomed to be punished in one way or another. Mitsubishi Weapons Morimachi Plant. Mitsubishi Weapons Morimachi Plant was located 1.4 kilometers to the south of the blast center. Morimachi was expanded as Imperial Japanese Navy demanded more torpedoes, and finally the large Ohashi plant was built in the north in 1942, and total workforce jumped to 17,793 and produced 210 torpedoes per month by these two plants in August 1945.